good morning. So we are with Arjun Pratap, CEO of Edge Networks, a new age startup around data science and analytics, specifically working for HR tech and helping out HR, human resources organization recruiters to uh, find out right resumes from the bulk of which they get it and use data science AI to help it out. Uh, so more on it from Arjun himself. Please feel free to write comments. If you have any questions, do write it on the comments itself. So Arjun, just speak about what Edge Networks is really all about.
Sure, and good morning to all you guys. Great to be here and great to be live on Facebook. So I think it's an interesting moment for us as we go forward. So to let you know about the business itself, we read resumes like the human brain. We read job descriptions to mimic the mind of a hiring manager to build productivity into the recruitment process and the resource allocation of the resource management process internal to organizations. And I think the critical point is, can we combine the value of time and the value of quality to optimize cost? I think these are the fundamental blocks that Edge Networks is built on. And obviously the glory of artificial intelligence and a data science driven model, the analysis of information in real time, which has allowed us to now permeate into a deep learning world where we're using NVIDIA GPUs to process our information so we can do it fast and we can do it faster than anybody else, is really the world that we live in today. And that's the cool and sexy part. But the real deal is, like I said, the value of quality, the value of time to result in optimizing costs is the fundamental block of an organization like ours.
All right, great. So before we jump into what exactly Edge Networks do and things like that, what's your personal story, Arjun? I mean, how did you get started? What were the things that you were working before you get started with Edge Networks? How was the whole idea of getting started with something as unique as this came into being?
My journey has always been with startups, and I've been with companies which are 5 to 7 people in size. Done a lot of great things around, building companies across the technology space with great teams. And that's where I guess my DNA comes from. I mean, I worked in a startup in Australia. We did a management buyout. I worked in a startup in India, which was based out of San Jose. But I was the third employee out of the India operations. It was called Speeder Networks. We sold that company to Akamai, which is the 800-pound gorilla of the content delivery network space. And probably the only large company that I've ever worked for. Great journey. And to be honest, with these startups and with Akamai as well, I attribute a lot of the learning to the kind of DNA that is necessary to build companies, right? And I think the old adage goes that through my journey, which I've seen across the companies that I've worked in the limited experience that I have, is that the fiber that is required to build companies was through this journey. So interestingly, you asked me the question of how, I've sort of reached this point. I've reached this point primarily working with startup companies and understanding what that fiber is to start up and succeed.
All right. And what was that spark? What did you really see, or what did you see missing in the whole HR space that you thought, hey, something around data science, pulling out right resumes for human resource would be an interesting idea?
So absolutely, I can start from the idea, or the onset of the idea, right? The onset of the idea is that you get 100 resumes because you need to fill a position in 3 days. You probably are going to take 50 of those resumes and bin them because you don't have the time or the consistency to look at those resumes in an unbiased fashion, right? So then you're left with 50 and you probably missed the one person that you could have got in the 50 that you bid. Next, you're going to go through the 50 that you have, and how consistent are you going to be across that 50 and reading all the information that works, right? Now, I'm not saying that the only thing that you would do is read all the 50 completely, because the human brain processes information at a speed that wows everybody. that is why you need to mimic the human brain when you're actually trying to do this endeavor of reading a document. And going down to it being a global problem, all of us are inundated with the fact that we get so many resumes to come in our inbox, right? We have hiring problems, we have paucity of time, we have a cost cutover that we have to make, and you are left with a job board giving you a certain set of resumes that you have to go through. So we do the grunt work of reading that resume in a quality-based fashion, giving you 100% coverage. And I think that global problem has not gone away. Look at it this way. I mean, the resume persists, the job description persists, right? And those have been artifacts of time that have been used as tools of representation for people like us. And we constantly have to visit that process of submitting our resume within a job application process. So if that's not going to go away, I think the one thing that hit me at that point in time was, can I solve this problem? It's a simple problem, it's a global problem. And that's how I started.
Got it. So let's now talk about the product itself, right? And I'll be questioning you on 3 levels. First, on the very, very high level of what HR manager would be seeing through this. And then we'll go a little deeper into what kind of a use case or what kind of a technology is there. And then at very, very low end, what is the database and technology really being utilized out here, and how did it get started? What are the coding which is happening? So for the first one, what is the interface that an HR manager works upon?
We call it hirealchemy.com, and we have a product that can create a job description from a skill, right? So you can put in AWS as a skill, or you can put in Hadoop as a skill, and I'll be able to give you associated skills or connected terms that define what is the value of that skill based on my graph that I have at the back end. And my graph sort of powers the interface that gives you this information. Now what the person, the hiring manager or the HR manager or the recruiter does is able to say, okay, this makes sense. I've also given them a list of titles that they potentially look for in this set of skills. And they can either add or delete, and they can look at the title that makes sense to them, click on that, and I'll give them a job description. And technically what I've done is dumb down the process of going and searching for a specific job description on Google into, hey, you know what? In 3 clicks, I'm going to give you a definition of what you're looking for with the map of skills, competencies, disciplines, processes, plans, outputs, functions, abilities, traits that you want in that person in a very seamless manner. And that, I think, is the effect that we give the hiring manager in that interface. Now that's analyzed. That's then automatically connected to job boards because we can create a Boolean query out of it, fire it to job boards that are partnered with us, download resumes from those job boards using their download APIs, and we sort of read those resumes and then score and stack rank them. And that's the interface that the HR manager sees. This interface of being able to create a job description, being able to automatically look at a host of resumes stack ranked with scores, right, which give them all the metadata that they look for, right, in a person that is qualified for that job. We do that to give them a representation that's easy for them to consume.
Got it. So let me understand it better. So if I, let's say, using this product, if I'm looking for, let's say, folks which are data scientists, and I type in the query, data scientists, give me data scientists which are in Bangalore. It would give me a stacked ranked, scored profiles of people who are looking out for data scientists and looking out actively for a job in Bangalore.
And honestly, just what you said is the dream come true, right? I want a data scientist, I want them in Bangalore, and I want them to know natural language process. Right? These are my 3 terms. I don't want to write a job description. I don't want to have to go and write a query in a job board. I just want my resumes that are associated with it. And you know what? Can you also find out if these candidates want to work with us? Can you let me know if they're going to join my company, right? I can let them know.
Okay, how does that happen?
That's a joining probability analysis. Based on the information that's existing in the resume, based on historical information that exists within the companies, I'm able to build analysis about joining probability based on historical information, based on attrition that existed within the business, that track, and looking at the data that's available to us via the resume. Now, just to explain the complexity at the back end is this graph that has demographic information, industry information, skill information, course information, and occupation information, right? So this is really the fundamental, if you could marry it to a genetic marker, a set of genetic markers, these are the genetic markers of a resume or a job description. We are able to qualify based on a couple of these pieces of information being evident to us. We can read between the lines because of the power of this neural network at the back end.
Okay.
Right? So we're able to understand a lot of this information and make sure that we can pick the right person for the right job immediately from that. And that's really the dream of the hiring manager, the dream of the recruiter. Can I get a productivity tool that enhances my process so that I'm talking to the right candidate?
Right.
Now, look at it this way. I'm talking about India, where there's a volume. And the old adage is that the portals give you a huge number of resumes. And the better portals give you more resumes. But who's going to read them? Right? I have access into Naukri. I'm Naukri's largest customer. I can look at, according to my contract, 500,000 resumes. But who are the people who will read the 500,000 resumes? Right?
Sure.
So you have sources who will source them. You have recruiters who have to deal with what the sources have sourced. Sure. And then the hiring managers who deal with what the recruiters have shortlisted.
Sure.
Now, in that process, if you've not sourced the right resumes, the recruiters are dealing with the wrong set of people to pass on to the hiring managers. Therein lies the break in the process. So what we have done is refine the sourcing process to an art, where science is kicked in, used data science in terms of models that can read text and understand the value of not just the keyword, but the connotation of what the keyword represents in the sentence.
Okay.
Right? And then you're automatically saying, I understand that the person must have these skills. And the person is saying they actually do have these skills. They are not working with the project manager, but they are project managers. Right? That difference is really going to be, I think, the key difference when you're reading a resume and you're reading it fast. You're reading it because you've had an argument with your boss, and then you're going to sit down and read a bunch of resumes. Are you going to do it accurately? You've had a fight with your spouse, and then you're going to read a resume. Are you going to do it accurately? Now, productivity is going to be impacted if there is a slight chance of a miss, because you might have missed that candidate because you couldn't give it the quality control that you need to give it, that 100% coverage.
Sure. So let's also talk about the scale of it. It should be a large database of yours at the back end, right? You're culling out a lot of resumes from almost all job sites, at least the big ones, in India or abroad.
Sure.
It should be, simply put, a big data problem for you.
Absolutely. So the kind of technology stack that we use has best search in class, has best database quality in terms of NoSQL. It has beautiful graphs that we employ. We use deep learning, and that's why NVIDIA gave us the AI Showcase Award of the Year for 2017. We were at San Jose because of that, and that's how the Google part, which I'll talk about, happened. But the whole deal is that we have great technology in the form of a stack, right? We have our own DevOps team, and our CTO is phenomenally adept at building the technology infrastructure for process this information. And what we did right, and might go against the norm, is we went to large enterprise customers, right? I know the value of the problem with the small and medium business, of which I am, and the medium business can be anywhere between 10 crores of revenue to 200 crores of revenue, but the medium business problem also is large. But to tackle the problem, what we did was we went to the large enterprise, the 150,000 member companies, right? The 110,000 member companies, and solved their problem for them, which allowed us then to look at employee information, because we're optimizing workforces by reducing lead time, which is time, improving the quality of the match, which is the quality, and optimizing on cost, which is the cost optimization piece that I talked about. When we're doing this for large organizations, what automatically happens is that we're able to drive information that's validated within organizations across disparate systems. They couldn't do it themselves because integration into those disparate systems, collating that information, making sense of it in one go was beyond what they had through workflow systems that they were employing. Now, the SAPs of the world, the Oracles of the world, the Workdays of the world have systems of workflow, systems of record, and unfortunately haven't driven into the system of engagement or intelligence. Right? Now, all of them are trying to, but they're usually doing it on the back of companies like ours who have gone the distance to build the data science that drives that at a very good scale. Right? So since we looked at all the information inside these large organizations, we were able to understand a lot more. And we understood about domains that were disconnected for us, which was banking, which was energy, which was retail, which was aviation, which was telecommunications. Which means today, I can look at healthcare, look at an anesthetist job description, a radiologist. I can look at a pharmacy manager for a retail company. I can look at a pipe rack operator or a jack operator on an oil rig, right? And I can deliver who the right candidate might be because I've developed my graphs to understand what that information means.
Sure. So now let's talk about some of the milestone of the company itself. So let's talk about when did it get started? How long have this been in the inception? What are some of the milestones that you have achieved till now? Talk about some of your clients if you can.
Sure, absolutely. In fact, we registered the company in 2010, and we started as a company that's going to drive an education business. We failed miserably at it, but in a year and a half, we realized that we were not going anywhere, and we sort of shut that business down. So the registered date is 2010. This business, as in the more successful avatar of Edge Network, started in 2012, and I think the milestones were achieving the first customer, which was Wipro in October 2013, where we were evaluated against the likes of Oracle, Microsoft, LinkedIn, Burning Glass, various companies out there that had promise, had proven capability at many levels, but did not have what Wipro wanted as a problem to be solved. And I think that I would give full credit to the company because the company had the people in place to identify what the problem was and go out and get a solution. And they empowered them to take a solution like ours, which had no customer base at the back end, no proven track record. We were working on open source technologies, right? And, the CIO of the company probably was rife with fear that what happens if this company breaks into two? The process, organization would have been worried about what would be the existence quotients of the company that would impact the business that we were trying to address. Because we are sitting at the nerve center of Wipro, right? And we are solving allocation for Wipro internally and acquisition of talent externally as one unified platform. And when we are sitting at that nerve center for a people supply chain business, there is a huge risk element, and they were willing to buck the odds because they believed that the technology was game-changing, right? So I think a milestone for us was acquisition of a customer and validation through this process. We got the best innovation partner in 2014 awarded by Wipro, one of the best moments in our lives because that was again validation in a supplier meet where we are nobody. Right? You have Microsoft there, and you have LinkedIn there, and you have various partners that add a lot of value on that process. And we were given this innovation award. And to this date, I think Wipro is a fantastic customer for us. The next customer or the next milestone was another customer that we acquired, which was HCL, where the learning was again tremendous because we've been able to build career planning into their kitty of what they want to solve, right? They want to solve the talent transformation problem. They want to solve the career progression problem. And Prithvi Shergill, who was the CHRO of HCL, one of the most game-changing people who wanted to deliver a 5-hour experience for candidates coming in and wanted to build the value of connecting people to positions as an intrinsic part of the organization's delivery capability. Not something that we would take 5 hops to do, but can we do it in 1 hop? How do you manage that? How do you build a seamless experience to engage with the employees who matter so much to the fiber of the business? And I think his team epitomized that from the IS team that worked with us, a fantastic team of technical professionals. We got audited by HCL that taught us a fair few things because the HCL audit was so different, where they had frameworks that we haven't seen before to even evaluate the systems that we use, where we got taught a few things. Right? All I'm saying is, from these large organizations, these milestones that we achieved, we were able to recognize how to value the business that we have and the product portfolio.
Sure.
Right? So the product portfolio started maturing with these two customers, and that is why we're able to go out to a Dell Services, a Microland, and start delivering this similar value to them, either on TA or workforce optimization.
Sure.
We're able to talk about what is a data lake and provide that to NTT. We're able to provide analytics from a predictive and prescriptive form to NTT and to Wipro.
Sure.
Right? And we can talk about that proposition to other people, because now we're starting to understand the value of how we can upskill, reskill, cross-skill people.
Sure.
Right? So talent transformation becomes reality.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And recently, one of the milestones, I believe, is Google itself. I think one of it's in news all over. So Edge Networks have been selected as one of the participants to 6 startups which have been selected by Google specifically. So talk about that. How did that happen, and what's the way ahead for that?
So to be honest, Google is a fantastic company just for its DNA, and we all know that because we're all part of the Google family, whether we like it or not. But more importantly, all of us like it because Google is delivering value to us continuously. And in that sense, Google as a business has enough impetus to invest in the future, which is why at a GPU technology conference that NVIDIA had for 2017, we had a booth there because we were the best AI startup out of India for NVIDIA, and we were represented there, right? And when we were standing there in the booth, Google came up to us and asked us this, right? They're saying, hey, you're doing deep learning and you're the only HR company in this entire space because you have the Amazons, the IBMs, various companies that were top of their game there, right? So what are you guys doing? So we told them, we demonstrated that. And we have a local sales rep out of San Francisco, Niven, who pitched this to Google and said, this is our idea, this is our concept, and this is what we're doing. And they said, hey, you know what? We have the Google Launchpad, but you guys have missed the bus. We've closed it. But write me an email and let's talk. The amazing part is that email translated into a verification and a qualification session that we had in San Francisco. Fortunately, we were in San Jose. Fortunately, we were at the NVIDIA conference. Fortunately, Google came. And fortunately, Niven had the presence of mind to pitch our product to him, right? We were in the Google office. We went through this verification and qualification process. We filled out the forms, and they said, listen, you guys have something that's really interesting, and that's game-changing. And look at Google today. Google also has the Jobs API. They're going into the human resource space because they want to diversify, they want to add value because of the kind of data, and what talent transformation and talent management means to the world.
Sure.
And these guys want to be at top of the game. So a company like that recognized the value of a company like this and said, you know what, we're going to make an exception, and we're going to include you guys if you make the cut. And we made the cut. So that's the phenomenal part of Google. I think I'm just impressed by the entire seamless way the organization behaved, the transparent way, and what it has to offer. They're giving us 2 weeks of funded training. We've got our port of entry letters. We've got
in San Francisco,
in their office, right, where they train us with the best mentors in the world, right? And the minimum requirement is the CEO and the CTO have to attend. And now we're figuring out, even from a sales perspective or a business development perspective, or a solution perspective is going to attend, whether a product head is also going to attend. We're going to figure out how we throw some muscle into it so we get the best out of it. And the second thing is that they're also going to mentor us for 6 months after that, right? So the whole program is geared to how they will take this company off.
Yeah, and Google recently, I believe, recently started something on the job portal side. I mean, in their town hall, which is Google I/O, they have launched a Google job portal. I don't exactly know the.
I can tell you. So this is the reason why I think the entire Google Launchpad Accelerator program is going to be fantastic for us, because they're launching their Google Jobs API, right? And Google has information that is going to build on what we have as a premise as our edge graph, right? And we, as this little company, have reached a distance, and Google recognizes that distance.
Sure.
And that's why these companies, I think, are very great, because they understand the value and the impact of companies as little as us to the world when you're looking at connecting the dots. And we're hoping to connect those dots and make sure that they understand that we have a great value proposition for the world, because you're talking about talent transformation, you're talking about talent management. And I was reading in a McKinsey report, by 2025, talent management is going to be a $2.7 trillion opportunity, the size of UK's GDP. That's large, and the reason is the whole shape of workforce is going to change. You're going to see a transformation where contracting is going to become large, where people are going to do jobs that are piecemeal and do it in their own time.
Yeah.
But accountability and responsibility for that job being done is going to be delivered through an ecosystem that's technology enabled. Who's going to do that? There are going to be multiple partners, not one.
Sure.
And I think we have a great chance with the Google Launchpad to establish that.
Absolutely. So what does so Google is again a big milestone, but talking about future, what are some of the things lined up for you? Right? What are some of the things, innovation, some of the milestones that you think are there for yourself in the future? What are the things lined up?
So when we talk about innovation, I think just new versions of our search and match is innovation that we're going to launch. There's going to be intelligent learning paths that we're going to drive connected to Coursera, Udacity, Udemy, Google Books, Canvas, and the likes of them. In fact, our CTO has just classified about 43,000 courses better than Google, right? And we're going to be able to deliver the connection points between the gaps to the learning as part of our career progression, talent transformation plans for organizations.
Okay.
We're going to move into different verticals. You have to look at multiple organizations that are large, who have contacted us over the internet, right? Who have reached us because they found our presence, very, very stimulating for their future proofing for their talent, right? And I think just the innovation that we have in terms of learning and transformation is going to be very, very relevant. So new search and match, talent transformation, our workforce analytics, right? Our ability to do joining probability, attrition modeling, hiring grid endurance, channel mix might sound like it's something that's been done, but if it's being done by people who look at data in real time and are able to use deep learning to power the analytics, then you're going to get a lot more value out of the analytics, because customers are going to be able to use them.
Sure.
Right?
Sure.
Predictive and prescriptive is usability, because it will affect decisions and affect guidance of businesses. Sure. Because businesses are made of people, right? And I think that premise is becoming a lot more present to a lot of people out there who are wanting this kind of AI to deliver that value.
Sure.
So workforce analytics is another area that we're looking at very, very closely. And things like psychometric analysis with pictures, we call it pictometric analysis. We have 2 psychologists in San Francisco who are developing the validation for what the data science team has built. So we're building applications that will allow us to reach the user on behalf of the employer and build information that will not just look at the resume as one facet, the analytics as another facet, but the cultural fitment and the DNA of the person also being assessed through this process.
Sure.
And we believe in driving an ecosystem that fosters partnership. So we look at partnering with Metal, we look at partnering with Idify through their APIs, we look at building an ecosystem through a video interviewing platform, scheduling, so that the experience is seamless. So innovation is adding the bells and whistles of features, so the platform becomes a lot more pervasive for customers and users, right? And also the data science innovation, like I talked about. Fantastic search and match. And search friction for jobs is one of the largest frictions in the world apart from housing, right? We're going to solve that problem. Second is, we're talking about talent transformation, which is a big journey for us. It might sound like 2 words, but you're talking about transforming people to jobs that really matter, right? And you're talking about workforce analytics, and you're talking about analytics that will define guidance for businesses. So how do we get there? That's our goal.
Sure. And in terms of geography, what would be your prime geography? Right now, is it India or is it outside? Or what would be the future look like?
So honestly, in fact, we have we have US presence in San Francisco, and we're sort of building a lot of customer base within Dallas and hopefully in other parts of the US, because we have a sort of little diverse, we have retail, we have energy, we're looking at different companies. We're looking at partnering with Wipro to go into the Middle East, right? We have opportunities in Oman. We have also the ability to go into the UK because we have a sales rep there. We won the India Emerging 20 by London Partners in PDO that we're going to take us to London Tech Week, which is one of the biggest tech weeks in Europe,
Sure.
right? If not the world. And we're going to participate on the back of these giants like BDO and Santander and Newland Chase, who are going to open doors for us.
Sure.
And London Partner is definitely representing the government. They're going to open doors for us because we're the new economy that they want to establish with a gateway through London for the rest of the world.
Sure.
Right? So I think presence in the UK, primarily because 78% of recruitment in the UK is done by recruitment companies, and that's a huge business with 10 to 20% of commissions driven across. So I think we have great value as a productivity tool to provide to these companies, and I think the gateway for us is London for the rest of Europe. Right? So we see that as an important aspect. We see the US as a fantastic market with very similar problems to what we have in India from a people supply chain perspective. It's global, right? But I think India, the US, and the UK are significant markets, and through partners in areas like the Middle East.
Got it. I think from my side, most of the questions are done. Let's probably just look out for some of the comments in the thing. So this is, I think this is a great question, and whenever we do some session like this, either online or offline, we get a query like, how can someone make a career with you? And what are the skill sets that's required?
So I think the four fundamentals are integrity, passion, commitment, and focus. These are the things that we look for fundamentally as the fiber required. And 50% of it is definitely the prior skill sets that you have to bring to the organization. We have on a daily basis students from IIT who want internships with us, right? And we have a great internship program where we help people come in and sort of foster it over 2 months, 6 months. In fact, I talked to a whole bunch of interns yesterday and oriented them about the vision of the business. I want people who are connected to delivering value. And I think the team that we have has a DNA or a fiber that looks at changing the world through their involvement in the process, right? How do they sort of connect the dots? And whoever wants a career with Edge is looking at being on that cutting edge. So it's not about just being cool from a technology perspective. It's not about knowing the 7 different things that you know from a technology perspective. In fact, I was with a great software engineer at Facebook when I was in San Jose, and he didn't talk technology, not because he didn't know it, because that's not the way you brandish your ability or your technical skills. It's about your ability being inherent in you. So all I want to submit to you guys, if you want a career at Edge, there's integrity, there's passion for changing the problems that we have and solving it for the world. There's commitment to your job, and there's complete focus that you have to zone in and do it really well.
Got it. I think that's about it. And if there anything else that you would like to add? And
well, you know what, this is a great forum for us. So thank you so much for having us here. I think it's a great break for us to be able to be on this.
Sure.
I really believe that every opportunity for us is a golden opportunity that we want to capitalize on. So to the people out there who are going to look at this information, I think you will realize as we go through this journey, it's not about just having cool tech that makes this work. It's about defining the value of process, defining customer satisfaction and customer success. All of these are important aspects that you will learn in this journey with this company, right? We stand for the fundamentals that I highlighted before, and I think that's what you need to look at when you look at Edge Networks. Both from a customer perspective, employee perspective, and investor perspective, it's the same.
Got it. So thank you. I think it was very, very informative session, and thanks for coming in and having this live session with us, and we wish you all the best.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.